Hello crafty friends, today I'm going to share some cards I've made with the September Pink and Main Pumpkin Season card kit. For card number 1, I've taken some of the deep orange cardstock from our kit. I've cut it slightly smaller than the card base itself and I'm attaching that with double-sided tape. Onto that I'm going to place a slightly smaller rectangle of the really cute hot cocoa cups, and I'm using glue there just so I can have a little bit of wiggle room to get a nice even border of the orange backing paper. I've cut myself a rectangle of glitter cardstock, and on the back I've just added some extra little strips of cardstock so that it sits flat against the card front with the matting layers that are underneath it. Now I couldn't tell if I had it straight, so I grabbed my T-square and I'm just using that to try and make sure I've got it level with the edges. I've then cut myself a scalloped rectangle and stamped on it a sentiment from a Stamps of Life stamp set, and I'm going to back that with some foam tape and a little bit of glue and then attach that to my glitter cardstock. And I just thought the sentiment was really a cute one to have with the hot cocoa where it says "You are so sweet," and I was thinking that this would make a nice little thank you card for someone. And I've got there one of the mugs of hot cocoa that I've stamped out and one of the little cupcakes with the chocolate sticks sticking out. To decorate my mug, I've stamped and die cut a bow, and I'm just going to place that in the center of my cup or my mug. Then to finish off the card, I've just showing you there the enamel dots that we have, and they've got really pretty coloured glitter through them, and I'm going to place 3 of those in the bottom right corner and then 3 in the top left corner, just to finish off and give it a little bit of sparkle in those corners as well. That's the first card finished. For card number 2, I'm using the Spotted Scalloped cover die by Pink and Main, and I've used the main panel to cut myself a little scalloped backing piece, which I'm applying directly to my card base. I've then cut myself a flag, and to make sure that I had a nice even pattern at the top, I've also run it back through my die cutting machine with the scalloped cover base or cover die that I used for the teal coloured paper. I've then cut myself a scallop circle, and I'm going to then place that over my little banner, and once I've got that positioned where I'm happy, I'm just going to add a couple little offcuts of cardstock to prop up the sides of my scallop circle, just so they're sitting flat as well. Popping that under, and those tweezers make it so much easier to do. I've then stamped another sentiment from a Stamps of Life stamp set, and I just thought it was a really happy and lovely sentiment to have on a card to give to someone. I'm taking some of the viney looking leafy things from our stamp set that I've cut, stamped and die cut out, and then taking 3 of the leaves as well, and I've stamped those in different coloured inks, and I'm just making an arrangement at the bottom of the scalloped sentiment circle. I'll give my bow and my arrangement a little bit of time to dry, and I'll place a stamping block on top just to make sure everything's weighted down and sits flat. I'm going to bring in some of the enamel dots from the kit, and I'm choosing a variety of colours and sizes, and I'm placing those diagonally across my card front just to give some movement and direction across the card. Once I'm happy with that, I will then come in with some Nouveau drops in the Crystal Clear, or I think it's called Dew, Morning Dew, and I'll just put a little button of that onto my bow, and that finishes up my card. Very pretty card, and I think it's just got a lovely sentiment on there for someone special. For card number 3, I've taken one of the cardstocks from the kit and I've cut myself a top folding card base, and I'm just showing you here. I've used the stencil and I have inked the pumpkins on, and then I've gone over with a Cosmic Shimmer Glimmer Kiss in the copper pennies. That gives it that slight brownish undertone to match back with the cardstock that I'm using for the card. Now to the front of my card, I've got a strip of the matching brown cardstock and then a nice piece of the bright plaid to go across the front. I don't want to add too much to my card front because I want that pretty stencil background to be the star. I've grabbed 3 of the pumpkins that I stamped out, and once I'd stamped them out, I went over the top with some of the Spectrum Noir glitter inks, and it just gives it a lovely sparkle. I'm now attaching my 3 pumpkins to a strip of foam tape so that they sit in the position I want them to be in, and I'll then just add a little bit more foam tape to the back of those to support the size of the pumpkins. Add some glue to make sure they stick nice and well and for a long time. I then cut a sentiment which says grateful from a die in my stash, and just popping some glue on there, and I'll place that on top. And I think the teal colour really pops nicely against the orange there, the complementary colour scheme. I've got some of the smaller leaves that I'm going to place onto my pumpkins, and I've stamped that in a darker green, and I'm just going to make sure my leaves are facing in a couple different directions just to give some variety in the shapes that are on the card. Now to finish off the card, I've cut out 5 hearts out of the teal cardstock in our kit, and I'm using the die, heart-shaped dies from the kit to cut out the hearts, and I'm just going to glue those onto my card so that they're centered or framing my grateful sentiment. I'll pop 2 smaller hearts down the bottom underneath the sentiment, and then I'll come in with my glossy accents to give it a little bit of texture and as well as some shine. Once the glossy accent is all on there, my card is finished. Now for card number 4, I'm taking a piece of cardstock, the full size of my card base, and I'm going to attach the plaid pattern paper to the front there. The inspiration for this card is coming from the information card that's in the kit, and I like to try and make the card myself from the inspiration there that we're given. So I've now cut a semicircle using a circle die, and I'm placing that about halfway down my card front. I've then cut myself a piece of brown cardstock and then put the leafy background paper on top of that and mounted it to my card. I then got 3 pumpkins that I've stamped out and then painted over with the Spectrum Noir orange sparkle ink, and I'm just going to pop up my middle pumpkin. The other 2 are going to lay flat against the card. So putting my glue on, and I just need to lift up my first pumpkin so that the foam tape allows the larger pumpkin to slide underneath there. And I'm just taking my last pumpkin and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but this time I will slide it under the right side of that pumpkin. Now I've taken the leafy stamp and die cut that out. Now I've chosen slightly different colours for my card compared to that's on the inspiration card. So I've chosen dark green for the leafy sprig, and then I'm using lighter green for the leaves on top of my pumpkins. And then coming in with teal coloured vines that are going to swirl off my pumpkins. And I've tried to put them in a similar position as they are on the ideas card, and get those nice and attached there. I have got a shot coming up showing my finished card with the inspiration card, and you'll see the slight differences that I have in that I have got slightly different colours, and I've added on a couple extra embellishments as well. So attaching my last little vine, and here I've cut out the sentiment with a rectangle die, and then I've just used my corner chomper to round the corners as it's shown on the inspiration card. I've popped that up on some foam tape, and now I'm just going to take out some sequins and I'm going to dot those around my card. And I think I said I used enamel dots, but I'm actually using the sequin mix instead to embellish my card. Just getting that last little sequin down the bottom glued on, and I've used a variety of colours that are represented in both the stamps that I've used and the papers on the card. And attaching that last little sequin near the sentiment there, and my card's finished. And here's a photo of my card compared to the information card in the kit. You can see my colours are slightly different, but kept the same idea. Card number 5, I've taken inspiration from pictures I've seen in magazines where you have shelves loaded with little trinkets and bits and pieces, and then you have your mugs hanging underneath your shelves. So that's what I'm trying to recreate here. I've taken some of the wood grain paper from the kit, and I've cut myself 2 strips to be shelves and popped them up on foam tape. I've then stamped out a set of 3 books, and on each book I've found little stamps from other stamp sets and put little titles or images on the spines of the book. I'm now going to go ahead and glue down my first piece of wood grain paper for my first shelf. I'll just get that pressed on nice and firmly. And I've taken one of the pumpkins and I'm going to attach that onto the right side of my books, and it's going to be glued flat to the card base while the books have been popped up onto foam tape. I've made myself a set of 3 little candles, so we've got a nice candle arrangement, and I imagine them to be some of those beautiful smelling different flavoured candles that you can get. Get that pressed on. Okay, and then these are my 4 cups that I've stamped. I've overlapped them and then put a piece of tape on the front to hold them in place. And you'll see when I take the tape off that I've also gone ahead and found some little stamped images so I could decorate my mugs with little pretty pictures. Here I'm showing you that I've taken a relax word die and I've cut that out 4 times, and the last time I've cut it out was with glitter cardstock for the top. I've then taken a pen and painted around the edges of my die cut so that you don't see any white edges from any other angle. I'll pop that relaxed sentiment on top of the bottom shelf, and to me that reminds me of one of those MDF timber words that you see sitting on shelves, little mantra there telling you to relax. And that then is my final card. I did finish it off with some shiny orange twine, and here is a last look at all the 5 cards I've made with this kit. I had lots of fun playing with this kit, and some of the colours are really pretty, and you don't have to just make fall cards with the kit. There's lots of other things you can do with them. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.